Cool. Hello. I've just got back from my community choir. So, hello. For those of you who were at the film music tutorial today, hopefully you found it useful. Just want to go through a couple of reminders for some of you and bits and bobs. You need to make sure. Oh, definitely need coffee. You need to make sure that you have been going on to Edmodo, folks. The chords and cadences sheet, and I'll just load up the chords and cadences sheet on here. You need to make sure that you've been going on this chords and cadences sheet, okay? And I'll just kind of slightly talk you through this. It is important, okay? It really, really, really is important. We've gone through it all before, but when you're composing either film music or pop ballads or whatever it is, you need to make sure you're getting technique in there. You need to make sure you're getting technical stuff in. Mark schemes, I want to see technical stuff. If I don't see technical stuff and you don't do certain things, you're going to be missing out on relatively easy marks. Obviously, it starts off relatively simplistic, and we should definitely know all this stuff. But chords, 2 or more notes played together. Triads are 3-note chords, 1, 3, 5. Major is happy, minor is sad. In fact, this is the too simple version, so I need to find the other version of the chords and cadences sheet, which is, because that's the version which is a little bit simplistic. So I need to see if I can quickly find that version. So I will just quickly go on to Edmodo on this screen and get that. So basically, there's 4 types of triads that you want to be trying to use. Major and minor, the ones you know, but then there's diminished and there's augmented. Now, all this is about semitones, okay? If you go from, say you want to do a C major chord, the idea is you do C major, you move up by 4 semitones, that's a major third, that's your 3, 4 semitones away, and then from that one you move 3 semitones up to get the next one, which is then your G, C, E, G. If you do a minor chord, so that's a 4-3. So major is 4 semitones, 3 semitones. So I call it 4-3. Okay, because a perfect fifth, C to G, is 7 semitones apart. Okay, and that's the same in a major or a minor chord. So if you do a minor chord, it's 3 semitones up, so C to E flat, and then from E flat you'd move 4 semitones to G. So hence then a minor triad is 3-4, major triad is 4-3. Now diminished triads and augmented triads are kind of either 4-4 or 3-3. A diminished is a 3-3, so it's a minor third, okay, 3 semitones, and then another minor third on top of that. Okay, so a minor third on top of a minor third is a diminished triad. Now I'm just going to quickly start Cubase here. And I'll just place them, okay, just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea about that. Just let me quickly, I'll put it on here so you can still, I mean, you might not want to see me, but I'll let you see me. So with diminished triads and augmented triads, and when I find this thing on Edmodo, I'll be able to go through. Augmented triads, and again, it's not exactly this, but diminished triads kind of sound scary. Augmented triads kind of sound mysterious. And I'll kind of play this in a minute so you kind of get the idea. But you want to be trying to use these wherever possible, especially in film music when you want to get certain emotions, you want to get certain things across. Sometimes major and minor chords don't cut it. You can't really do certain things and get certain certain sounds and certain feelings and emotions by just using standard major minor chords. As we'll go through in a second, there's other things you can add. So you can add sevenths, you can do inversions, you can add kind of additions to a normal major or minor chord, which might get it towards what you want. But you certainly need to be aware of these different types of triads. So if we just quickly bob into that, and I'll zoom in, page width, there we go. So major, minor, diminished, augmented. Okay, and you see there 4 3 3 4 3 3 4 4. And this is on Edmodo. You can download it, you can print it. It's useful to have next to you to make sure that you've got some of these things in there. And you can add these things even if you don't have at the moment. We talked about Roman numerals, making sure you understood the Roman numerals. Okay. So I'm not going to go through this in great detail because a lot of it we've been through before. We know the whole 1 4 5 major, 2 3 6 minor if we're in a major key. We know that they're primary chords and secondary chords, etc. Some of the names of these chords are quite important. Okay, so the dominant chord 5 is the dominant. Now the word dominant is important. We need to make sure we know the word dominant. Okay, so dominant is chord 5. So if we're in C major, then G major is our dominant, and C major and G major, the tonic, that's the key, and the dominant, tonic and dominant will generally have a really kind of big relationship with one another. They're kind of really they're friends, they're good friends. Subdominant as well, so chord 4. Okay, so 1, 4, and 5, tonic, subdominant, dominant. Again, big kind of relationships. Obviously, chord 6 there, submediant, but obviously you might also know it as the relative minor. So that's obviously the relative minor in a major key, chord 1, then chord 6 is your relative minor. They share the same key signature. So C major, no sharps and flats. A minor, no sharps and flats. So they are really related. They kind of share pretty much the same scale. We'll get into on why they don't quite share the same scale if you have a certain type of minor scale, the harmonic minor. We talked about sevenths previously, and sevenths can be added to chords to make them more interesting. Okay, and I've kind of gone on there, and again, this is a generalization, so this is not the hard and fast rules of using sevenths. It's just something to kind of help you. That a dominant seventh, which is a major triad, that's a 4-3 with a minor seventh. So that's a 1 3 4 a 1, a major triad with that minor seventh, which is 10 semitones away from the first note. Or you can just go 2 semitones down, which tones in an octave. If I just quickly play this, I'll just quickly add a piano part into Cubase, just so you can hear some of these things, because again, it makes more sense if you hear. Let me just quickly know. One sec. Okay, just need to quickly restart Cubase because I hadn't my keyboard turned on. So with sevenths, you really need to make sure that you're kind of not using the wrong sevenths at the wrong time. Because, for example, if you do a 5 chord, so like in this, like G major is the 5 of C. If you use G major and you try and go from a G major 7th, so that's with a major 7 there instead of the dominant 7th, the 5-7 that you usually would use, sounds a bit weird. You end up making odd chordal sounds as opposed to the kind of ones you'd want to. Some things sound right and some things kind of sound wrong. Sometimes they're not really right or wrong, but it just depends whether you think it suits your composition. So if you're doing a film composition, it's just, does it suit? Okay, does it sound right? Sometimes it'll just sound wrong, and often you'll find out the reason it sounds wrong is because you've kind of not followed the rules, the guidelines. Again, rules are there to be broken. You know me, I like breaking rules as much as anyone, but you need to sometimes, the guidelines that kind of work. They work for a reason. Okay, so let me just play a dominant 7th. So that's our dominant 7th. Okay, now that's also known as a barbershop 7th, and you know how much I love barbershop. So if we're in C major, okay, here, one second, I'll just put this here. If I'm in C major and I'm playing, and my 5 chord, that's my dominant 7th. Okay. Okay, and that 5-7 chord wants to go back to 1. Okay, if I get that wrong and I stick a major 7 in that chord, okay, I'm going to do this bit, and you'll just see it doesn't quite sound, it certainly doesn't want to go back to where it should. So if I do that, that is which on its own is fine. It's quite a nice chord. Major 7. But in a chord sequence, you really, if that is your chord 5, you don't want to use it. Just sounds wrong. There might be examples of composers using this, but not that I'm aware of. And again, I don't know how you'd make this sound nice. Okay, I don't think really it does sound nice. So just make sure you're not doing certain things. And this sheet is not all the chords. It's just saying that, for example, major 7s are quite nice in chord 1 and chord 4. So if I'm in C major because my piano playing skills aren't great, obviously yours might be better, and that's very nice for you. But I'm a violinist, so keyboard is not my forte. So if I'm in chord 1, and I want to stick in like a nice little kind of, that's chord 1, that's a 1, that's a C major 7. Okay, then that's the beginning of like, you're just too good to be true, can't take my eyes off you. So you get really nice kind of like jazzy kind of sound. Okay, it's quite a nice open sounding chord. So a 1 chord with a major 7 is quite nice. Okay, but a 5 chord with a major 7, less so. So sometimes you need to understand those 1s and 5s and 4s and things, otherwise you end up choosing the wrong type of chord. Okay, again, it's, for example, when you're in a diminished, we said we talked diminished. So this is major, because you got the 1, 4 up, 3 up. That's major. With minor, we go up 3, then we go up 4. Minor. If we get diminished, we go up 3. That's there. I think I'm losing connection. That's annoying. Maybe my internet connection was working well earlier on. If you are still with me, obviously, then that means that, yes, seems I'm dropping some frames. That's annoying. I might have to try this again. Yes. Okay. I seem to have a little bit of a slow internet connection at the moment. Hopefully, again, I'll keep on going and then I'll see how we're doing. Don't fret. I'll try and do some more stuff if needs be. Now, on the 1 chord, so that's our 1-7. And that's 4-7. So 1-7 to 4-7 works quite nicely. Okay? That's a nice chord. Okay? Sometimes things like a diminished triad, we just talked about diminished triad, 3-3. That's a diminished triad. Scary. Okay? An augmented triad is the one that I kind of describe as mysterious. It's always like a murder mystery show. So you get a 1, 3, and then another major third on top of that, 4 semitones. So there. Ooh. Okay, so that's like, ooh, who did the murder? Someone's dead. And then, who did the murder? Now, in fact, 1 second. I'll just have to stop for a minute.